So in my project browser, I want to go to my 3D view to experiment with this, so it's easier to see. So what we have here is, this is the project that I'm going to have you build in this training session. We're going to be building a house just so I could test that your abilities of creating models, and I could show you best practices and show you where you're doing things right and where you're doing things wrong. So first step, I'm going to create this wall, just any wall, doesn't really matter where. And so that was in just the wall tab. You notice that when I hit the wall tab, it prompted me on which wall I wanted. I can switch all of these walls here. We'll learn more about walls in the next lesson. It also gives me a bunch of commands up top, like modify. You can place the what level you want to place it at, the height, what level is at the top, so what constraints. We'll get into that in just a second. The location line of where you want to place it, whether you want an offset, and then the join. Whenever you're putting things in the model, walls, doors, windows, really anything, structural elements, does not matter, this modify tab will pop up. So we're going to modify for this specific wall. Actually, this is modify for place wall. To exit out of those windows, all I'm hitting is escape. The escape button is going to be used heavily for you in Revit. It's basically just to deselect what you have selected. So when I select this wall, a new tab pops up, modify walls. It gives me all of these commands that I can use up top to modify this specific wall. I also have the properties tab on the left, which highlights constraints for me. I could tell it where I want it to be the base, where I want the top to be, if I want an offset, so on and so forth. There's also tons of other things, and each model is going to be different. It's going to be complicated in the beginning. As you continue to use this stuff, it'll become easier. So what I was going to talk about next was how to alter these. So using the Revit tools like move, align, offset, rotate, mirror, array, trim extents, split elements, cut, copy, paste, split face, pin versus unpin. All right, so starting off with about the very beginning of this stuff, let's go with move tab. So I'm going to hit that MV for move. It's also right here. All the commands that I'm going over are right in this little section right here. So move tab, type in MV for move, and now it asks me click to enter move start point down here. So you'll see that right down there. So what point do I want to move from? Select that point, slide it over. When I do move, I can also do constrain or disjoin, or I can move multiple. I won't be doing any of that for this one. Next step is going to be align. So this tab is the align tab. It's AL is the short key. So let's say I wanted to align this wall with this face here. I use this align tool all the time. So I want to align to this face. Let's align these faces together. So now these faces are aligned. If I look at this from a face on, they're perfectly in line with each other. You basically can't even tell which one's which by the surface. Notice that I also have a lock and unlock key that pops up. So I can actually lock this wall to this face once you align something. So if I lock it, now that this wall is constrained to this location, I cannot move this left or right without getting a warning. These are locked together. So I'm moving this wall, and this wall is moving with it. You can see that it moved off the face of the slab. So they're locked together. They have a relationship now. Move one, the other moves. If we don't want that relationship to occur, so we simply just click on one of these walls and hit this unlock button too. All right, align also has a couple of other commands. We could tell them what we prefer, if it's wall center line or wall face. We can also do multiple alignment. If you check this multiple alignment, you'll have to uncheck this, so be conscious of when you are selecting that. Next one we're going to do is offset. It is this one right here, which is OF. Pretty self-explanatory here. We can do a graphical or numerical. Most common, I use numerical whenever I'm doing offsets. Let's say I want to offset this by 10 feet. and create a copy of it. So I could do this, just select the wall, and you'll notice that whichever side of the wall I select, you'll see that dotted line. That's where your wall is going to go. If I want to switch in between these two, I can always use the tab button, and there's nothing I can really switch in between right now, but the tab button allows you to alter between, say, a wall center line and a wall face. So once I click this, you notice the second wall gets popped up. It's pretty easy, align tool. The next one is rotate. That is this command right here. Rotate is RO. So rotate, it automatically defaults to the center of the whatever you're selected. We can copy these. We can redo the center of rotation. So let's say I want to do the center of rotation over here. Now I can select the next point and start rotating these things. Really powerful, really useful command. So I am assigning it to this corner of the wall. Now I can use the reference. I don't have to use the certain reference, but let's say I want to use this reference. Then it allows me to snap perpendicular. So I'm working in planes. All right, mirror tab, or sorry, the mirror tool. There's two of them we can use. Mirror is draw axis, or mirror is pick axis. I never use the pick axis, so I can actually just remove that hotkey if I wanted to. I usually do draw axis because with draw axis you can also pick an axis. What I mean by that is, so mirror by pick axis, I can pick this axis to mirror from. I can also tab over, so now I'm mirroring off the face of that wall, mirroring off this face of the wall, mirroring off the center line. So if I do that, now it puts this wall on the other side in a perfect mirror. In my opinion, that is the same thing as this. So DM is draw mirror, so I'm going to do that. DM, and I can just simply select this, and that is the same exact thing. You'll notice that it popped up orange because now I have duplicate walls in the same spot. I'm just deleting these. So mirror also allows me to copy or not copy. You usually want to copy, but there might be instances where you don't want to. So just heads up there. I always look in these three spots whenever I'm modifying something. I look in the properties tab up here. I look in this little section right here, because sometimes there's hidden commands. And then there's also the properties tab. And then also the command bar. Those are the three areas that I look in. So the next one is going to be array. The array command is this one right here. This one is used less frequently. And whenever you hover over something, it'll also give you a video of what happens. So in this instance, they're editing the first row of this, and they want to array it backwards. That way they have multiple rows. So I'll show you how I do this. Click on this button. At the top, it'll ask you how many you want to do. I want 6 items, and you can move to the second item or the last item. If you move to the second item, if you're looking at my video right now, this is the original. I want to move this second one here, and that means that everyone after that will be evenly spaced with that second. So to show you this, I'll show the second one real quick. So I want walls that are 10 feet in between. It'll give me 6 walls spaced 10 feet evenly. Now let's do that same command. Six. Move to last. So now that I do that, we'll do 10 more feet. Now you'll notice that since I did the last one, I picked the last location I wanted it to, and it will divide evenly within there. Heads up, whenever you're doing array, that they become grouped automatically. Whenever you group something, let's say I go in, edit this group, I change this wall to, let's say, I don't know, a 5-foot wall, maybe a short wall. Once I finish, all of those other walls will finish. They will adjust as well. Now this is useful sometimes. Sometimes you do want to edit multiple groups across a project. Other times you just want to edit this one wall and you don't want to change the other ones that you've already arrayed. So to do that, real simple, ungroup. And now I could change this one without leading to changing the other 5. All right, one more thing you could do with array. I'm gonna ungroup these so that they're no longer associated. Sorry, Jeff, can't answer right now. All right, one more thing you could do with array is array, and now I can array it in a radial fashion. Might be a poor example of this because I'm not sure when you'll need to array walls, but you might. This is more common used for furniture. Say we want to array chairs around a table. I'll show you how to do this real quick. That is this. And let's array around this line here. So it asks you to pick the center point, then it asks you what the rotation angle is. I can make this 360, or I can just make this 180. And it will ask me how many I want arrayed. Let's do 6 again. So now those are all in a radial array around that point that I picked. All right, so that's array. What else do we have here? There's trim extents. I use this one all the time. A couple of trim extent commands. There is trim extend to corner, trim extend single element, and trim extend multiple elements. This is the one I use most often. It's just the way I work. Other people might use other ones. I assigned this one to TE. I'll show you what I mean by that. What this does, so I assigned the hotkey as TE because I use it all of the time. So let's say I have these 2 walls and they're not actually meeting up on the floor plan, but I want them to, and this happens all the time. Instead of actually having to go in and like starting to adjust these and do that, we want to operate in the least amount of clicks. So to do this, you hit TE, your little command will pop up, you do the first one that you want to do and the second one you want to do, and boom, they just meet right up in the middle. All right, now let's say we have this one running past, we have this one running past, and we want them to align in the corner. We don't want these extra tails hanging off, so we'll do the TE again. We'll select this one. So it matters which side of the wall you'll select. If I select on this side of this wall, this will reduce. If I select on this side of the wall, this side will reduce. To show you what I mean by that, I'll click on this side, and I can click on this side, and then those are now aligned. Let's go back, trim extend, this side, now those are aligned. And I could also do this. So trim extend is a very powerful command. I use it, like I said, all the time. You can also do trim extend multiples. So say I have a series of walls and I create this datum wall going across. I can create multiples. Let me show you what I mean by that. I want all 3 of these walls to basically end at this one. We'll go trim extend multiple. We select which one we want to meet to. And then those will all be trimmed up just like that. All right, next up is split elements. Split elements is this command. I don't even know where it's at because I always use a shortcut. It's a split element here, and there's also a split element with gap. I don't ever use this one, but you can. So split element here is basically going to take this, gives you a little X-Acto knife tool, and I can split this wherever I want. And now I have 2 separate walls. That one's pretty easy. Nothing too fancy. We can also delete inner segment if we wanted to. So say we have that command, now we're splitting. Let's see how that just got deleted. Now we have multiples. All right. Cut, copy, paste, pretty simple, but there are a couple cool things we could do with cut, copy, paste. Obviously we could just do the Control C, Control V, like we do in every software. I use a CO command. It gives you a little bit more tools than Control C, Control V, and it also prompts this up. I can create multiple copies, and I can also constrain them to move direction. Really, I mean, that's just copy, click, copy, click. But there are certain powerful things you can do if we're working inner projects, between multiple projects, I should say. There's this copy to clipboard. And now I can actually align this to multiple levels. Whenever I hit that copy button, or it could be the cut button, I can paste this to clipboard, from clipboard, and that'll basically allow me to put it wherever I want. This will align it to selected levels. So this one is very powerful. I can make this align to the roof, and now I'll have one more above it. I use that one quite frequently. I can also open up 2 separate projects and then copy and paste these models in between these projects. So that is pretty cool. We can also copy to certain views. This is more common in when I'm copying, let's say, floor plans or images across views. Maybe I want that level 1 floor plan on the roof, for instance. I'll get into that one in a bit. But I just wanted to let you know that that command was there. The last one I'll show you, actually I have 2 more. Split face is one that is used for material purposes. So say this wall has multiple materials on it, I can actually split the face of this element and paint one side a different color than the other side, or paint a little square in the middle a different color than the others. To do that, it is this button right here, split face. Now it'll ask you at the bottom left, split face into regions. Let's select that face. Now it brings up this little grayed out menu here. We'll cut that face just like that. And now we have this wall. By using the paint command, I can paint that wall, pick the color, and now I can paint this section a different color if I wanted to. So pretty powerful right there. There's a bunch of other commands we can use inside of here. The last one I'm going to show you is the pin element. So pin element's pretty common one that I use. Happens a lot whenever I don't want things to move, like model links. I have a model linked in that I don't want to move or be able to select. I'll go in and I'll pin this element here, which is also PN, to pin it. Now that it's pinned, you'll notice that it has a pin in it. I cannot move this without throwing an error. Actually, I don't even think it lets me move it at all. Yep, does not let me move it at all. So to move it, just unpin it. And now I can move it. Another cool thing is that when I have it pinned, and let's say it's a floor plan that we're working on, when we will do this in this assignment that we have for part 1. If it's a floor plan we're working on, we don't want that pinned element to even be selectable. Whenever we're working with stuff and we don't want it to be selectable, all we have to do is come up here, and we can uncheck select pinned elements. This doesn't even give us the option to select this element anymore. So I'm hovering over it. You can hear me clicking. I could select this one, but since this one's pinned, I cannot select it. So go back and select it. I'll just hit this, and now I can go in and select it, unpin it, and if I uncheck this again, now this is selected. Alright, that is it for the Revit tools that I'm going to highlight in here. There are a ton of them. I probably don't even know all of them right now, and I definitely don't use all of them as much as I should, I guess. But there are, I mean, you could do the roof joins, column joins, wall joins, there's demolish tools. I covered most of them. Another beneficial one that I will cover real quick is going to be the thin lines in the floor plan view. I'll show you what I mean by that. So we have our floor plan view here, and they're all thin lines currently. If I select this off, you'll notice that the line weight of those lines change. And this is actually what's going to be the printable. So if I have thin lines off, it doesn't look like much change, but the line weight thickness changes. That's it for Revit tools. The next one we're going to get into is datum levels, planes, and grids. Okay, the next thing we're going to go through is datum levels, planes, and grids. So Revit uses planes and grids heavily. It's how they base all of their models. All of their elements are plane based. What that means is like this wall right here is set to two constraints, a top constraint and a bottom constraint. I talked about this briefly in the last one. You can't really talk about Revit without mentioning the constraints. We have base level 1 and top constraint is level 2. So in your elevation tab, under your project browser, we'll go find some elevations. All right, so Revit automatically out of the box, it basically doesn't let you have a project without a level 1. This is where all things are going to be based off of starting out, and you can also create other datum planes such as their roof. To create more datum planes, in terms of levels, we have architectural tab under the datum section. We can create levels or we can create grids. For levels, the shortcut is LL. I usually just use copy and paste. You can also do array with this level tool as well. It works a lot. It benefits you a lot if you're using like a high rise and you have multiple levels that you need to array up. So I can copy this level up, and now all of a sudden I have a new datum I can assign elements to. So before I could just assign it to level 1 or roof. Now I can change this to level 3 and it will modify the element so that it's based on level 3. You can see that it goes up. I'm going to erase those because I do not want my roof on level 3. All right, Revit also works in grids, so we can set up grids here and base things off of grid lines. To do that, we just select the grid element. You can also just create a curved one or pick your lines or a multi-segment. I'll just stick simple right now and I can create a grid line here. And that's essentially a plane as well. And how that is helpful is that when I actually go to model something free form, or I want to adjust the location of this, or something's not showing up on the right level or plane or datum, I can essentially just come to this level in the properties tab and assign different locations for these. So that one just went up to the roof. Where it also helps out is that I can start modeling elements in place. Now we don't use model elements in place very often. These are usually one-off things like a reception desk or specialty items, or it could just be like a model in place generic placeholder item. Let's say we have a AC unit that we know we're going to be using, we just don't know exactly which one, but we need to model it in. I'll show you how to do that right now. So let's go with mechanical systems. We'll actually do the AC. I believe that is in, or is it specialty equipment? Yeah, specialty equipment is where that will be. Hit OK. Now I can name this AC unit. Now I know the AC units normally go on the side of the house, but for this instance we will create it on the roof. So I can go in here and set the work plane and create the datum. I can create it on level 1, I can create it on the roof, or I can create it whichever plane I want it to be. So let's do this one. I want to model off the face of the roof since it's not an ordinary ordinary use case. So now that I'm modeling on that, I can actually come in here and now I'm modeling on top of that roof because I picked the plane. Now I don't want to do that shape, so I can go from a top view and just start creating these things. It's going parallel to whatever I set it to, but I can actually rotate this. So that it does whatever I want it to do. I'm gonna move, and let's say that we want to set a pad. So I'm telling it where I want my extrusion to start and where I want it to end at. I can also pick the material here and make sure it's visible or invisible. But this is all going to be okay for this instance here. So now that roof element is modeled. All right, now let's go further. Let's get an extrusion again, and let's set another work plane. So right now the roof is, or the plane that we're working on is that roof shingle, and it's highlighted right there. I can also pick another one. Let's model on this face now. Not exactly sure why we'd want to model on this face, but just for the sake of this, we will do it. All right, so we are modeling here. Let's model like a little brace. All right, that made some weird things because I was not facing the correct direction. So I'm modeling on this face. And I can go on and on and on from there. I can also disassociate it, disassociate the work plane in case I wanted to move it up, down, left, right. But that is essentially how Revit uses planes. I'm going to delete this family because I don't want it. Revit uses planes, levels, elements that you can model off of. The planes are one of the most heavily used things. Once you understand planes inside of Revit, you can understand a lot of Revit. So keep on practicing with planes, keep on understanding the implications of them and how to use them properly. A couple things else, another thing we could do with planes is offset them, offset your elements from the plane itself. So let's say I wanted to create this 5 feet from, this might be a bad example because it's a floor, but this window would be a good example. So this sill height is 3 feet from level 1. If we wanted to make this, say, 5 feet, we're making a transom window, for instance, which would probably be more like 6, or maybe 7 even. I can set that offset, well in this case it's a sill height, 7 feet, and it will offset from that level.